Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive Hobbycast. Daniel here. I hope you're doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. Okay, today's episode of the Hobbycast is going to be a really quick one, and I'm just going to be discussing very briefly 4 of the books I'm going to be reading over the next 5 weeks during the Halloween season, during the spooky season. I always like to focus on reading some good horror fiction. And so I just wanted to briefly discuss the 4 books I'm going to be reading. So if you wanted to read along with me, you could. And then I'm going to try to do a review for these books by maybe by the first week of November or so. So right now I am finishing up a first read of The Dead Zone by Stephen King. And I am really enjoying that. I love always keeping a few books by some of my favorite authors left unread, so I have something new to read by them. And so, yeah, reading this Dead Zone right now has been a lot of fun. And when I'm done with that, I will be resurrecting the Ranking of Kings series that I started a couple years ago. And we will be discussing that along with the rest of the Dark Tower series, which I did finish up my 5th or so reread of that last year. But the 4 books that I'm going to be reading over the next 5 weeks are as follows. The first, and if you are watching the video feed of this, you will see images of the books on your screen. The first is a novelization of one of my favorite movies, and that is Poltergeist. And the novelization is written by James Caan, and it is based on a story by Steven Spielberg with a screenplay by Steven Spielberg. So I have a little bit of an interesting background with novelizations. Growing up, my parents were a little on the stricter side when it came to certain things in pop culture, and I just wasn't. And when I was younger, I wasn't allowed to see some movies, usually like rated R horror movies. And even though Poltergeist was only rated PG, it was deemed a little bit too scary for young me, and that's probably a good call because I think Poltergeist, even as an adult, is a pretty freaky movie. But I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of rated R movies or a lot of horror movies, but I could read like just about anything I wanted to read. I know it's kind of a weird dichotomy there, but so I actually read a lot of novelizations growing up, and instead of seeing the movie, I would read the book. And a lot of times books based on movies, they were based on the shooting script, not the edited script, not the edited final movie. And so in reading the book, I always got to experience more things than people who saw the movie. And I'm really curious to find out if there are any like deleted scenes in the Poltergeist novel. And I think it sounds, it should be a lot of fun. I've always wanted to read this, and I finally found a copy that is that wasn't too expensive. On the inside cover of the book, it says Poltergeist, from the imageless eye of the TV set, from the flickering snowy light it calls to Carol Ann. From the closet of her room where a light burns as comfort against the darkness, it pulls with electric intensity, luring Carol Ann. From beyond the world of the living, it reaches an unholy anger, ripping from the arms of her family, Carol Ann Freeling, 6 years old and innocent, into the thrall of the Poltergeist. Okay, and then the next book is a book by an author who I know absolutely nothing about, and this book was recommended to a group of us by Matthew M. Bartlett on his Facebook page. And that is a book by Paula D. Ashe called We Are Here to Hurt Each Other. And briefly, the back of the book says, with these 12 stories, Paula D. Ashe takes you into a dark and bloody world where nothing is sacred and no one is safe. A landscape of urban decay and human degradation, this collection finds the psychic pressure points of us all and giddily squeezes. Try to run, try to hide, but there is no escape. We are here to hurt each other. And this was published in 2022, so it is, I believe, the newest book I will be reading this season. And it does have a content warning. It says the following book contains extreme graphic violence, child endangerment, child assault, child murder, sexual assault, incest, and necrophilia. Those are all good ingredients for a good horror book, so looking forward to discovering what Paula D. Ashe has in store for me in We Are Here to Hurt Each Other. The next book, book number 3, is by another author who I know almost nothing, or I know nothing about, and he is called Adam L.G. Neville, and the book is called Weird and Other Derelictions. Weird and Other Derelictions. Derelictions are horror stories told in ways you may not have encountered before. Something is missing from the silent places and worlds inside these stories. Something has been removed, taken flight, or been destroyed. Us. Derelictions are weird tales that tell of aftermaths and how new and liminal places. Each location has witnessed catastrophe, infernal visitations, or unearthly transformations. But across these landscapes of murder, genocide, and invasion, crucial evidence remains. And it is the task of the reader to sift through ruin and ponder the residual enigma, to behold and wonder at the full horror that has visited upon mankind. This book here was published in 2020, so it is another newer book. Adam L.G. Neville has quite a few books out and some short story collections. This is a short story collection. So if I like this book, I'm probably going to investigate more of his fiction. And finally is a book by an author who I know a little bit about, and an author who I want to know more about, and I recently have purchased quite a few things by him, and that is a man named Charles L. Grant. Grant is kind of a writer's writer. A lot of other horror writers hold Grant in high esteem, I should say. And this book here is called Nightmare Seasons, and it takes place in a fictional town that he writes about on the East Coast called Ox Run Station. And this says, Strange Happenings in Ox Run Station, by the winner of the Nebula and World Fantasy Awards. Ox Run Station, a town like any other, a community that swelters through the summer and shivers through the winter, bigger than a hamlet, but not so much so that a stranger would go unnoticed. A place where people know each other, know each other's family, each other's history. Ox Run Station is a town like any other, a community whose peaceful round of seasons is now and then shattered by scandal, rocked by tragedy. A place of secrets where even the best of friends are unaware of each other's innermost hopes and fears, and often of their own as well. I've read one book by Charles L. Grant. I bought about 15 or so of his books over the last couple of years. I read The Gift, and I did not like it at all. I thought it was actually a pretty poor book, to tell you the truth, and I was pretty disappointed in it. But I've heard he's such a good author, so I want to give him a few more chances. His books are often out of print, kind of hard to find. I'm hoping that I read the one that really gets me into him. So if you have read Charles L. Grant and you can recommend something to me, please do so. So these are the 4 books I'm going to be reading during this spooky season of 2022, and that is Poltergeist novelization by James Caan, We Are Here to Hurt Each Other by Paula D. Ashe, Weird and Other Derelictions by Adam L.G. Neville, and Nightmare Seasons by Charles L. Grant. So, all right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Hobbycast. If you are planning on reading any horror fiction, please let me know what it is. Give me some good recommendations. Also, on the Dungeon Dive during the month of October, we will be focusing on some more horror-themed board games. We will be doing a top 10 horror movie list and a top 10 horror book list. So looking forward to all kinds of spooky things over the next 5 or so weeks. We will talk to you later. Bye-bye.